is on leave at the moment, and Councillor Mackenzie is an apology. So if we move on to 4.1, which is the draft business plan. So this is just the business plan. This isn't the budget or rates. And the first recommendation is receiving and noting the community engagement summary provided and as presented at the budget workshop. Moving that way, Councillor Schofield, thank you. And do I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Any discussion on receiving and noting that item? No? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. The second recommendation is that pursuant to section 123 of the Local Government Act, Council adopts the annual business plan subject to final budget adoption and declaration of rates. Moving that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Mann. And seconding that, Councillor Schiller. Do either of you want to speak to that? Councillor Mann?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. It was great to get the consultation from the community around it, and very much appreciate the concerns and the points raised in relation to the budget. I think when we, as a lot of the responses to the consultation around the sustainability index and the additional, rate above CPI have it outlined in the report, that it is something that has we've been aware of for some time because of during that COVID period we chose to not raise rates, and then in other years raise rates less than CPI. We knew at the time that this would be required, and we've consulted the community on that in our long-term financial plan that this would have been required. It is a pity that CPI was so high this year due to the war, and that would have helped soften that blow, but there is that strong sentiment from the community around being financially sustainable. And even though this is above CPI this year, it's effectively taking into account years where we were below CPI as well. So I think taking that into account, I think it is whilst I appreciate the concerns raised by people who put the submissions in, I think it does strike a balance between being financially responsible but also dealing with a lot of the projects and initiatives that the community have been calling for some years now.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Schiller, do you want to speak to this?
That at the briefing session that we had about a week ago, I discussed that those 3 years that we had where we were below CPI, and I think 1 year no rise at all, and that has been the reason why we've had to build in this sustainability index to correct that period. We also discussed at the meeting that we've had a number of issues like COVID and obviously economic hardship and now the fuel crisis, and we will continue to see that. So our Audit and Risk Committee has been very strong on having that sustainability index in there, and I think if we as councillors into the future continue to seek the advice of our Audit and Risk Committee, we should get on the right pathway and be able to maintain a sustainable forward budget, and we'll be able to see our future grow and continue to be financially responsible.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the work undertaken by administration staff in preparing the annual budget plan and engaging with the community throughout the consultation process. However, I cannot support the annual business plan in its current form because it's built on a budget and rating position that I believe remains too high for our community. The annual business plan and the budget are intrinsically linked. As I do not support the underlying budget settings or the proposed rate increase, I am unable to support the annual business plan tonight. My position is not a reflection on the effort that has gone into preparing the document, but rather a concern that we have not yet achieved the level of financial restraint that our community is expecting.
Any further discussion? Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. While I acknowledge that the annual business plan of 26-27 contains a number of worthwhile initiatives and projects that will benefit our community, an annual business plan is more than a list of aspirations. It is Council's commitment to deliver services, projects and outcomes through the capital and operating budgets. Those commitments can only be achieved if Council has the financial resources, organisational capability and operational capacity to deliver them. My concern is not with many of the individual projects themselves, but with whether Council has the capacity and capability to deliver the full program within the proposed timeframe. If Council commits to more than it can realistically achieve, there is a risk that projects will be delayed, priorities will change, budgets will come under pressure and community expectations will not be met. I believe an annual business plan should be realistic, achievable and based on Council's demonstrated ability to deliver. For these reasons, while I support many of the individual initiatives contained within the plan, I cannot support the annual business plan of 26-27.
Any further discussion? We'll close the debate. All those in favour? And those against? That's carried, thank you.
Division, please.
A division, those in favour? Councillor Mann, Councillor Schiller, Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson, and those against, Councillor Burns and Councillor Kemp. We now move to 4.2, and there's two recommendations there. Would someone like to move recommendation 1 or 2? Councillor Henderson.
Recommendation 1, thank you, Mayor.
So recommendation 1, the Council pursuant of section 123 of the Local Government Act adopts the draft 26-27 budget as presented in the budgeted financial statements provided at attachment 1. That's right. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Schofield. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Henderson?
Yes, thank you. We've been working on this budget for probably at least 7 months, and over that time we've added things, we've taken things out, but I believe we have now a very tight, sensible budget. We've proven in the past with even more adventurous budgets that we have the capability. This council is very capable of carrying out everything in the plan, and I think we have a very good budget to back that up.
Councillor Schofield, did you want to speak to this?
I haven't really anything more to add, but I agree with the statement that Councillor Henderson said in relation to our budget.
Thank you. Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just wanted to thank staff, particularly the finance team, for the work they have undertaken to improve the budget position since our last workshop. Since the public consultation period, the operational deficit has been reduced by a further $50,000. The report, the commentary of the agenda explains that changes to allocations and expenses have resulted in a lower deficit than previously forecast. The reason I raise this is because throughout the budget process, Council has been repeatedly told that there was little or no capacity left to reduce expenditure further without impacting services. Councillor Kemp and I have constantly argued that additional saving opportunities may still exist. Tonight's report demonstrates that further improvements were in fact achievable, and in my view that suggests that there is still maybe more work to do. Whilst I welcome the reduction in the operating deficit, Council is still forecasting an operational deficit of more than $1.85 million. For that reason, I do not believe the budget is yet where it needs to be. I acknowledge the work already undertaken, but I cannot support the budget in its current form and would like to see further effort directed towards reducing the operating deficit. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly, do you want to respond to that?
Thank you, through the Mayor. So you're right, we were able to reduce the budget deficit from what went out to public consultation. Essentially that was due to overstated corporate overheads that once we built in the full costs in terms of both expenses and income for the Encounter Centre, we were able to redistribute that. But essentially that is a non-cash component. And it was basically a redistribution across all the lines and doesn't really reflect any reduction in services or council activities at all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. I support the proposed capital budget of 26-27. Continued investment in infrastructure is essential to maintain, renew and improve the community's assets that residents rely on every day. Roads, footpaths, buildings, parks and other public facilities require ongoing investment to ensure they remain safe, functional and fit for purpose. Capital projects are generally funded through the combination of borrowings, external grants and council reserves. While borrowing may increase council overall debt levels, it enables the delivery of a long-term infrastructure that will benefit the community for many years, unlike increases in operating expenditure. Capital investment does not replace the same direct and ongoing pressures on rate increases. I'd like to move an amendment on the capital budget side.
Your amendment.
My amendment is to include the oval entrance realignment in the capital budget and the Tabernacle Road, Mule Road footpath to be included in the capital budget.
What are the costs of those, Councillor Kemp? How much is that going to cost?
Well, generally speaking, I would imagine 30,000 for the Victor Harbour alignment design, and also the about 50,000 for the footpath is what was being told to us in workshops.
Generally speaking, you say. I'll just ask Kelly to give the specific costs.
Yes, thank you through the Mayor. So the amount for the design for the new entrance was
Can you turn your microphone off, David?
Thank you. So the design for the new entrance at the Victor Harbour was $30,000 and the Tabernacle and Mill Road footpath was 47. So a total of 77,000.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that amendment? Councillor Burns? Thank you. Do either of you want to speak to the amendment?
No, I think, they're just inclusions which, we've had safety issues around the Victor Harbour Oval concerns, and also the safety issues for people traversing Tabernacle area to Mills Road, to put a safety footpath in there be beneficial to the community.
Anyone else want to speak to the amendment? Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Kemp's comments. I think it's a safety issue, and overall in the 2026-7 budget, I don't have any problem with the capital budget, it's only the operational, and I think given that administration have already added tonight a couple of extra items into the capital budget, I think it's important that we also address these issues for safety reasons.
Thank you. If there's no further commentary, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of that amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against the amendment? 1. That amendment is passed and is now part of the original recommendation.
Mayor Jenkins, I still have time left to complete my presentation.
Your presentation?
Well, basically my comments. Still got 3 minutes, even though I've moved.
The amendment's passed.
Yes, I know, but I still want to talk to the budget issues.
Oh, you can still talk about it?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure how much time I've got left, but I'll give it a go. With the operating budget, my primary concern is the operating budget and its impact on ratepayers. The proposed 6.4% rate increase is, in my view, too high, included within the increases of 1.5% financial sustainability index. Council has advised that the financial sustainability index is necessary because the previous rate increases have not generated sufficient revenue to meet Council's long-term financial obligations and to provide adequate funding for the renewal and replacement of assets. While I understand the object of improving Council's long-term financial position, I am concerned that today's ratepayers are being asked to make up for funding decisions made over previous years. In addition, Council has indicated that the financial sustainability index will continue over the next 3 years, meaning ratepayers can expect this additional increase to become an ongoing component of future rate rises. I'm also concerned that the budget forecasts an operating deficit of 1.85 million. Sound financial management should, where possible, aim to achieve a balanced or surplus operating budgets. A deficit indicates that Council is planning to spend more on its day-to-day operation than it will receive in revenue during the financial year. And this is not a position that should become routine. For these reasons, I cannot support the operating budget side of it, and we can't separate them out. So I have a bit of a dilemma of trying to look at whether I support the total budget as it is, even though I do support the capital side of the assets, etc. So I'll just have to think about it. Thank you.
Any further discussion in relation to the motion? Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, some questions first to Kelly Knight Stacey. With that 1.5% financial sustainability index, can you confirm if that's for, as Councillor Kemp's advised, for this year, next year and the year after?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I believe it was for this year and one more year after this.
Yeah, was that because we did that last year as well?
It was put up last year. I don't think it was actually passed.
Yeah, thank you. The other question, in terms of, you may have it in front of you as well, the deficit for the operating position of 1.8, do you have the adjusted operating deficit once we take off the projects?
Yeah, so the adjusted would be excluding 480,000 for the optimisation project, so it would be down below 1.4.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think I appreciate the comments made. Again, I think it is one of those budgets where a number of us in the chamber had the benefit of in 2020, 2021 and some of those subsequent years of going out to the community saying we're not raising rates. We're doing less than CPI, and we got to enjoy that and enjoy that feedback, but we're still here, and now we need to be financially responsible in some of that catching up, and I guess across that longer term it's still within that CPI because of those years where we didn't do it, but yeah, I think we need to make sure we are being responsible, that we are balancing the budget and setting up the community and the council going forward, and I think it is important that we continue with looking at making it a sustainable budget, even though in this year it is going to be above the CPI, but I think when you explain it and you give that background to the community of why and those previous years come into it, I think it does provide an understanding that helps support the reasoning behind it. So I'm happy to support this budget and thank administration for all their assistance and work.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any further discussion? Councillor Stewart?
Just reinforcing what I said in our previous motion, we've had some good sound advice from our Audit and Risk Committee over the last couple of years, and Kelly Knight Stacey has put us in a great position. She's got a good head for finance, so I think that it looks difficult to a community to see that 1.5, but it isn't uncommon. I'm a ratepayer in another council, and they're having to put a sustainability index in there. We have the benefit of having a growing community. This community that I have got a rate paying interest in doesn't have that benefit, so it's not uncommon for this to occur.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson, do you want to close the debate? No? In that case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And those against? That's carried, thank you.
Division, please.
Division, those in favour, Councillor Mann, Councillor Schiller, Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson. And those against, Councillor Burns and Councillor Kemp. 4.3 is the rate declaration, and you'll see that that number in recommendation 1, which was the Value General's valuation of capital values, has changed. Kelly got the latest capital values, which we had to put in the latest today. So that is updated to now $9,325,052,380 from the original one that was in your agenda. It's 150,000 increase, thank you. So recommendation 1 is that pursuant to section 167 of the Local Government Act, we adopt for rating purposes the Value General's valuation of capital values for land for the end of the year, beginning 30th of June. Moving that way, Councillor Mann, and seconding Councillor Schofield. Do either of you want to speak to this? No? Anybody want to speak to this? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. Recommendation 2, which goes from A to E. I'm not going to read all of that out. I can take that as read. Would somebody like to move recommendation 2? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. And seconding that, please, Councillor Schiller. Do either of you want to speak to that? Anybody want to speak to that? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. A division? Those in favour, Councillor Mann, Councillor Schiller, Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson. And against is Councillor Kemp and Councillor Burns. Recommendation 3, that pursuant to section 151 and 152 of the Local Government Act, Council adopts a fixed charge of $495 to be imposed on rateable property within the council area. Councillor Schofield moving that way and Councillor Henderson seconding that. Either of you want to speak to that? Does anybody want to speak to that? Thank you, Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, no, I'll vote in favour of this one, but I'm not happy about doing so, as we've had lengthy discussions over the years in relation to the fixed charge, and its application to residential villages and retirement parks, and effectively how we've got this one $495 that an entire park pays, where every other Torrens title property they pay $495 per house or per property. Now it's something that we can't change, it's something we're required to do under the Local Government Act, but the reason I'm willing to support it to get this budget done and out the way is because we're looking very soon at our rating review to look at if we made changes to that fixed charge, if we look at how do we get a better share of the rates spread out across our community so everyone's paying a fair share, particularly with the amount of residential parks and retirement villages that are coming to Victor Harbour. So I'm excited to see what that work does, and I believe we've got some of those preliminary reports yet, and it's very much a watch this space and see how we can make it more equitable for the entire community.
Thank you, Councillor Mann, and I think you made some very good points. Any further discussion? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. Recommendation 4, that pursuant to section 69 of the Landscape South Australia, then to declare a separate rate for this year for Landscape Board in respect of rateable properties in the area of the council, a separate rate of 0.008522 cents in the dollar. Someone like to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Seconding Councillor Schiller. Either of you want to speak to that? Anyone want to speak to that? Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, again, I'll vote for it, but I'm not happy about it. Collecting money for the state government on their behalf, and local residents thinking it's the council adding it to it. Not a fan. Again, as this stage, there's nothing we can do about it, but who knows? Hopefully LGA might be able to advocate for some changes to that. We'll see.
Do you know anyone in the LGA?
I don't know. Maybe but is it tomorrow or?
Enough for all of you. Anybody else want to speak to that? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. Number 6, pursuant to section 153 of the Local Government Act, Council will fix a maximum increase in general rates to be charged in respect of residential properties, which are the principal ratepayers' principal place of residence, being the amount by which the general rate payable exceeds 25-26 general rate payable by more than 15%, and such a cap will not apply where the property is being acquired by the ratepayer or has become their principal place of residence after January 2025, and or the increase in rates payable is due in whole or in part to an increase in the valuation of the property attributable to improvements. Moving that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Mann, and seconding. Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Do either of you want to speak to that? Anyone want to speak to that? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. Number 6, that pursuant to section 160, 61 and 62 and 65 of the Local Government Act, Council endorses the provision of mandatory rebates as detailed in attachment 1, as follows: for health services, community services, religious purposes and educational purposes. Moving that way, Councillor Burns, seconding that, Councillor Henderson. Do either of you want to speak to that? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Number 7, that in pursuant of section 166 of the Local Government Act, Council endorses the provision of discretionary rebates as detailed in attachment 2 in relation to assisted supporting local businesses, historical significance and community services. Moving that way, please, Councillor Henderson, and secondly, Councillor Burns. Either of you want to speak to that? Anybody want to speak to that? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And number 8, that pursuant to section 181 of the Local Government Act, Council declares that the rates for the year ending 30th of June will be payable in a single instalment due on the 15th of September 2026, or by quarterly instalments due on the 15th of September, 15th of December, 15th of March and 15th of June 2027. Moving that way, thank you, Councillor Henderson, and seconding that, Councillor Schofield. Do either of you want to speak to that? Anyone want to speak to that? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. And there are no confidential items, and that closes the meeting.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.